Hello and welcome back to Lorehammer. My name is Eric.
Hey there, I'm Mark.
Joining us today we have Micah.
Hello.
Always a pleasure to have you.
Thank you, sir.
Good, sir. When was the last time you were on?
Mechanicus.
Dark Mechanicum, yeah.
Was it the dark
No.
one?
No,
No,
was
Mechanicum.
calling it.
Yeah, Mechanicum.
It was a long time ago.
It was the Mechanicum before. It must have been before
Olympus Mechanicus.
It's a time of
the
long
Horus
lost.
Heirs. Wow,
Yeah.
that's cool. It's a long time
That's
ago.
pretty
minute.
cool.
And then also joining us today, we have another guest. He who shall not be named. Welcome.
Back by popular demand.
For
The
last time.
Didact himself. Welcome, Sir Didact.
When we first started Lorehammer, we were like, Christian was like, we should have pseudonyms. I'm going to be called the Didact.
Yeah. And I was going to be called Master Chief. Anyways, welcome to both of you guys.
Thank you.
Obviously, we're on our 44th episode today. That's a lot.
Yeah.
We're almost at that 50 mark.
What does that mean?
I don't know. I'm assuming it's a milestone that some people have. I don't care.
Oh, weird.
Yeah. It's not
Numbers
for me.
are weird. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't mean anything.
Like one follows the next.
Yeah,
It doesn't make
exactly.
any sense. Unless you do like a half step. But then you can also do like a quarter step. And then you could do
I don't think I step anywhere.
like
I kind of just sit.
you could do a fifth.
No.
You could do some really small steps.
2 steps forward, 1 step back.
No.
That's this podcast, I think.
But before we get in, there are 2 people we need to thank for their patronage, as it were. Guy and Kevin, thank you so much for contributing to our podcast.
Yeah.
It's always nice to know that people enjoy what they listen to enough to put some money to it.
Sure.
And
Also, if you want to contribute, Patreon/Lorehammer, do whatever.
Yeah, if you want
Sure.
something a little more tangible, though, we also sell merchandise
Oh, we do. Yes.
in the form of bags and
Bedding.
shirts. There is bedding on there, isn't there? That's a little odd.
That's
Have
my
you
next
tried-
birthday
if
gift.
someone
Have you tried it yet?
No, that's my next gift I'm going to get.
if someone ever actually buys that, because we get told what is bought.
Yeah.
If it ever does, and if someone bues that, I am gonna message them and ask
You
them
get
if they're
one
okay.
free sleepover with Eric in that bedding. That's what
The
you
bed sheets
get.
come with Eric.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. But thank you guys, obviously, so much for participating that way. Okay. There is something we need to address before we continue on, Marcus.
Oh, just addendums and changes.
That's right.
I didn't know.
Corrections.
No,
No.
not corrections. Just lack of.
Yeah. It's just
full knowledge.
omissions. We're correcting the omission.
So the last 3 episodes we've really been talking about space travel and how all the races get around, and this episode will also be about that. But the one thing we never really clarified when we're talking about the Imperium was Gellar fields. We were talking about how they create a bubble of real space around the ship, and we never said, but the way it actually happens is there's actually a Psyker that does this. He projects real space from himself. So when they enter the warp, he creates that real space bubble.
Yeah. How deep into this do you want to go?
That's all.
Okay. 'Cause
That-
there's more.
Oh, is there?
Yeah.
Sure.
He's actually placed in a coma.
Oh,
Yeah, he's put inside the Gellar field, which is a
Sure.
machine, and he's induced into a coma, and then in his coma, he's creating reality around him.
yeah.
And it just unconsciously
It's
the
like
Gellar
a
field,
reverse dream.
it
Like,
really
while he's
is.
passed out. He's
Yeah.
dreaming reality.
And the Gellar field
Ah.
amplifies what he's doing and
Yeah.
includes the reality in there.
Yeah, that's
but then
so cool.
but it is very draining on them, and they do
Yeah.
die.
As all technology in the Imperium does.
Yeah. No
It's a
kidding.
double-edged
Oh,
sword.
we'll see that a lot in this episode for sure.
That's right.
But yeah, it was just because I know originally we were talking warp drives, they must have a Psyker, and I'm like, no,
Yeah.
lost my mind.
Warp drives do not.
but Gellar fields.
Gellar fields do. Yeah.
Fun fact of the day.
That's right.
Now we know. We all know. Now we're all on the same page. You, us.
That's right. All the listeners. We're all okay. But as well, something else before we even step into it. There was a post a couple days ago about Black Templar, and being a very zealous Black Templar fan myself. No, I do not have a Black Templar army
Anymore.
No, not anymore. Yeah,
You should
but
be Black Templar instead of Grey Knights when you do.
wow, that's rude. That's rude. Okay, but I have a story, and I would like to share it with everyone. A new crusade had formed within the Black Templar, and before the fleet set out, a battle brother took on a new neophyte. Upon arriving at a besieged Imperial system, the battle brother said to the neophyte, "You will take my chainsword and claim the lives of 100 of the enemy this day, in the name of the Emperor." After the first day of battle, the neophyte approached his master, head hung low. "Lord, I was only able to slay 72 enemies in the name of the Emperor this day." As punishment, the neophyte was sent back to the flagship to spend the next days deep in prayer for the Emperor, perform self-whipping as penance, and all the while fasting, since he had failed to perform in battle. The battle brother would retrieve him throughout the campaign, giving him the same test. However, the neophyte continued to fail, and could only perform his penance rather than fight with his master. On the last day of the campaign, as the crusade moved to relieve the capital of the planet, the battle brother gave his charge the same task: 100 enemies slain in the name of the Emperor. However, if he failed this time, his path to the rank of battle brother would end, and he would be turned into a chapter serf. When the dust settled and the capital was taken, the neophyte approached his master, holding a severed cultist head. "Behold the head of my 163rd enemy, slain in the name of the Emperor, my lord," he said, beaming with pride. Frustrated that his charge displayed hubris openly, the battle brother snatched away his lended chainsword, accidentally activating the chain blade in the exchange. Astounded, the neophyte exclaimed, "Lord, how did you make your weapon roar like that?"
That is a
That's right.
That's a perfect 40K is funny. Right
Just
there
so you
for
know,
ya.
guys, 40K is not funny.
Oh,
Okay? How many guys did he kill for that to happen?
with a blunt.
Like he's sawing
No,
them.
he's using the other side.
He's bashing
them with
them. Yeah. That was actually sent in from Nathaniel.
Yeah.
Garrow?
Garrow?
That's right. Nathaniel Garrow. He'd probably appreciate being called that. But no, he's just one of our listeners, and he's like, "Oh, Eric will enjoy this." And I thoroughly did. So it was good.
We did it.
It was very good. But without further ado, or adieu, as it is. No, it's
We're not fancy here like
Wait,
that.
wait. Before we get into it, I have a
boy.
confession.
Oh boy.
Oh gosh.
You bought Shadow Spear? Even though you don't intend on building
yet.
anything?
That's not too surprising. What I'm waiting for is he bought 3
He bought 3 Shadow
Yeah,
Spears.
yeah.
No,
that would catch me off guard.
So Eric handed me the tablet with the notes on it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't look through the internet history.
By the way,
That's a mistake.
and I thought we were just doing one facet of this whole topic, just like last time. I'm not prepared for this. That's all I got to say.
You're not prepared for Black Templar jokes? Is that what?
No, for the topic of today's podcast.
What did you
What
think?
did you
we were-
think it was?
I thought it was just the pharaohs.
Oh,
That's all I did. Wait.
Wait.
It's like when you're sitting in front of an exam and you only studied one chapter and you're supposed to study 8. And I'm just staring at the notes. I'm like, I don't know any of this.
But a couple days ago, I'm
I
like,
know,
hey,
I
how much do
completely
you know
forgot.
about the pharaohs?
That's because that's the only thing I remember.
And then you're, yeah.
So that's all I
no,
went back
but
to
I'm
look
like,
into.
okay, because you need to know, because I haven't read that book. And you're like,
Yeah.
okay. So then you came here today, and you're like, I haven't read it. I didn't read it. I
No,
didn't
no,
touch
he
up
knows
on
the
it.
reading
pharaohs.
other stuff.
He knows the pharaohs.
Yes, that's all I know.
No. Because
I didn't read the one chapter again, but I read other notes.
so the one topic that you thought we're doing,
I
and
skimmed.
then I was gonna
I skimmed
rely
it.
on you.
Yes, you can still rely on me, just not for the rest of the podcast. That's all.
I don't think we can ever rely on you.
That's it. Get out.
Probably in your best interest.
Fuck.
Get out. All right. Well, now that
There
that's
we
gone,
go.
let's actually get into
Now I
this.
get 2 mics.
So today we are talking about the Astronomican.
How do you?
Yeah.
You want to say that again?
How do you spell that?
Astronomican.
Astronomicon.
Astronomican. Astronomican.
I can.
It's weird because it's spelled like Astronomican, but it's always pronounced con.
I think that's just the British accent coming out.
Yeah?
Because
Yeah.
everything in all this stuff is all British.
Yeah,
Right?
okay.
It's like.
It's British history.
No. It's remember when
Wog, war.
and I
Mind blown.
It took me hearing an Australian guy saying that
Yeah.
before I realized it was war
Yeah.
and not just a battle cry.
I raged so hard in my car when I heard.
Yeah.
Fuck.
It's like,
You tried to shame me so
seriously,
hard,
Eric?
but I was like, I don't give a fuck.
Honestly, I had the same moment, so
I read
Yeah.
so much that you create the word in your head
Yeah,
so
totally.
often that like even like a name,
Yeah.
me and someone else will pronounce it completely differently, right? So
Can I add something about last episode then?
Sure.
So I actually listened to an audiobook a little while ago, and it's pronounced Navis Nobilite
Yeah.
instead of Navis.
not Nobilite.
Exactly. But like when you look at it, it's totally spelled like that.
If there was an accent aigu on the E, then I'm like 100%. That makes
Exactly.
sense. But
But-
it's like
Yeah,
nobilite.
words.
Yeah.
But obviously that makes sense now that I hear it, right? Like, duh. What kind of moron would do nobilite? Oh. That's another change, I guess, we can make. Thank you, Micah.
Yeah.
Last time, or no, the first time you were on our podcast and I was writing up the description to release it, I was like, joining us is Micah, a guy who just has to correct us if he can.
I remember.
So there we go.
There we go. You're
Sticking
welcome.
true to your roots. Anyways, let's talk about the Astronomicon.
The final piece for the Imperial's ability to warp travel safely. Of the puzzle. Piece of the puzzle. Piece of the pie, piece of the cake.
Uh-huh.
It's the final piece.
Piece of piss.
It's not a piece of piss.
All
It's
right.
very important.
Okay.
The purpose of it is the Astronomicon is a psychic beacon in the warp, allowing navigators and other significantly powerful psychers to use it as a lighthouse in the unknown and unpredictable energies of the Empyrean.
Yeah, I think we kind of were questioning whether or not people other than navigators could see the Astronomicon.
Yeah.
And at this point, we're pretty positive that anyone, if you're powerful enough, can see or hear the Astronomicon.
The here one, I don't think so.
I mean, it's a sixth sense. So you can't really describe it as seeing or hearing. Like it.
Well, it's described. A silvery light, and then it's a single voice, and then joined in a chorus.
And
The more you focus on it.
But you're getting that from a Dawn of War book.
Also,
Like, the worst canon book
Sure.
ever.
It could absolutely be canon. I know you said that people don't.
No, I don't even think Games Workshop considers it canon, man.
Okay, but even so, new lore.
Yeah.
So this, yeah.
Here we go, okay.
When it comes to the Astronomicon, apparently, so in recent history, it went out. We'll get into that later. But even just like normal humans on Terra, when it went out, they felt it. So I think it's kind of like in the same way that a blank can, they don't know what's going on, but something feels off. I think it's the same thing. Where it's
Well,
like
We're getting
just
deep in
out
the
of
weeds here.
I think-
mere proximity.
I think
At
the reason
times.
for that might be is that they've spent so long next to the
Deep,
Astronomicon.
deep in the
Yeah.
weeds.
So you just feel something's
Yeah.
missing. But
But
anyways, let's something a little more concrete about it though is
can you feel it, see it, or hear it?
You can only taste it.
no guys.
Taste the Astronomicon.
You have to be able to see colors in order to.
Oh my god.
No.
Deep in the weeds.
The beacon that it shoots up creates a radius of 25,000 light years. So the entire spread of it is 50,000 light years. So because it only does 25,000 one way, the far reaches of the eastern galactic map actually don't have the light of the Astronomicon at all.
Can. Astronomicon can.
I'm going to be saying that wrong this whole episode because I've said it wrong so many times. I don't know how to say it right.
Yeah.
Navis Nobulite.
No, nobility, and that makes complete sense to me.
For those of you who are curious, the galaxy, at least in 40K, is 52,000 light years. And Terra is just slightly off-center towards the galactic west.
Southwest.
Not really southwest. Sure, it could be
Yeah,
southwest. Like, it's more west than southwest. If I had to.
Southwest, like a very minimal
How
amount.
deeply do we
Yeah.
You
get
know
into
what?
the weeds
It's
here?
to the west of the center, Christian, and that's what matters because it's not
Yeah.
the north that is without the Astronomicon. It's the east.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So yeah, basically it shoots up a giant psychic light into the Imperium, and navigators are able to look at it and use it as a beacon to guide themselves through the warp. Like, this is our third episode kind of talking about this final piece of the puzzle, but yeah, so that's kind of the purpose of it.
holy shit.
Yeah. Okay.
So that number we got 52,850.
Yeah.
That's our galaxy,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
There's actually a measurement for the 40K Milky Way galaxy.
Yeah.
Oh, is there?
And it's almost 100,000 years. So do you remember or light years?
Huh.
It's almost 100,000 light years. So do you remember when we were saying the 50,000 couldn't be real?
Yeah, yeah.
It makes way more sense now that the radius is actually 50,000 light
Fact
years.
checking.
Well, because like when we were looking at it, and we didn't assume that 40K had a distance. We just looked at ours. Like the current galaxy is 52,850 light years. So
I thought this was our galaxy though, 40,000 years from now.
it is,
Yeah.
but everything's expanding.
So it can change.
Right? So thank
Where's
you,
it
Micah. So the 40K, that's not okay.
Eric, shut up.
Deep in the weeds.
The 40K galaxy is 100,000 light years, and the radius of the Astronomicon is 50,000 light years, which
No, the radius is
no, it's still 50,000.
This is some
the
rambling.
area is 50,000, which would imply a radius of 25, wouldn't it?
No, the radius is 50. It shines for 50,000 light years from the beacon.
Oh, okay.
So the radius
So
from
now that
the
we
center
got all
to the
the
edge is
the
50,000
science
light
The
years.
math out of the way.
Yeah.
That's right. All the
Are
math's
we
down.
confident in all those numbers that we
God,
gave?
no.
Is
Okay.
Hold on, we need to call NASA and just confirm
About 40Ks.
the galaxy.
Yeah.
We need to run some estimates.
If we
do some
shoot up a psychic
simulations.
beacon, NASA, how far would you be able to see it?
Also, since you're shooting up the psychic beacon, only one person see it? Like, what if
What if you're
the
below
psychic,
the plane?
No, the psychic beacon's on Earth. Earth is rotating,
must-
so the beacon's rotating.
Spinning like really fast.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is fucked.
The science works out, Mark. Checks out.
Checks out. But let's talk about the origins of the Astronomicon project.
Yeah, so in M30, before the Great Crusade had been launched, the Emperor drafted a sizable portion of Terra's population and a huge number of tech priests to build the Forbidden Fortress.
I think it was more than half. I think it was more than half of Terra's population.
Sure, that would be sizable.
It's also right after the Unification War, so there's not a lot going on Terra after all that.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's just
so
a
it's-
huge employment program.
That's right. He's trying to rebuild the economy. Smart man. It's like the New Deal. It's the New Deal.
it's probably less damaging.
I don't know.
Guarantee you.
Guys, invest in psychic stocks.
That's
That's the future.
yeah, that's right.
This structure, the Forbidden Fortress, was the largest structure on Terra until the Imperial Palace was built.
And how big is the Imperial Palace?
A continent size.
It's a continent. So this is slightly not as large as
Yeah.
a continent.
When we get more into the details, which I will do right now,
Well, that's a change of pace.
No, it's coming soon. Next episode.
no, let's do it now. Oh my God. It was built on the Himalayan mountains, and like it's presumed that the entire Himalayan mountain range is now this place because it's such a large structure. From the outside, the mountain range is unchanged, but the fortress extends deep into the earth, hollowing out the mountains.
Yeah, so as opposed to going up,
Yeah.
as many things in 40K do, this one seems to go around and down. But the mountains, they look the same. Their majestic beauty is untouched, which is really important in
For the
40K.
Himalayas, yeah.
Yeah. The chamber of the Astronomicon resides on the highest peak of the mountains and is visible as a half-giant dome. So
Is that on Mount Everest?
it's the highest peak in the Himalayas.
Isn't Everest in the Himalayas?
I don't know. I'm not
I
a.
know it's in the Milky Way galaxy.
I'm
know
not,
that much.
Somewhere there.
I'm not a Himalaya guy. I'm a.
Mike is a fact checker.
I'm a-
I can hear him. Like the minute we
Like, I can-
something
now I'm
questionable
curious.
happens, is like tap 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 tap.
Well,
yeah, it's in the Himalayas.
The
yeah.
reason
So Mount
that
Everest.
you don't know it's Mount Everest is because
Sure,
how
maybe they
much
blew up
nuclear
mountains.
war has happened since then.
It's just this little hilltop
Perfect.
now.
Right, exactly.
This is not nearly as epic as I was imagining.
Yeah, the country with the second largest mountain is like, fuck that place. Launches a nuke. Now we got the largest mountain.
It's a race to the
Is it,
bottom.
is it K2? Is that or Kilimanjaro?
Isn't
wait,
that-
The second highest.
I don't know.
Anyways,
I
who
don't-
cares?
Mount Fuji. I have no idea.
Okay.
Okay, well.
But the chamber is on the tallest peak in the Himalayan mountain range. And the surface of the dome is covered by 10,000 seats facing inwards, but those may or may not have been included with the original construction of the Astronomicon. And
Yeah.
we'll get to that definitely later.
Yeah. There are city-sized generators around the fortress capable of transmitting the power of the Astronomicon into space, with massive cables connecting it directly to the Golden Thrones. So
City-sized generators. Like an
Yeah.
entire city,
Oh my God.
but it's
So-
a generator.
yeah, so you have the whole Himalayan mountain range, one building. Then you got all those around it.
I like to think that there's either 7 or 9 cities. Like 8 would have been the perfect number.
For the chaos gods.
Right.
too.
No, because
Oh.
that would have just like made the perfect circle. It was the right amount of power. But the emperor was like, fuck that. I'm not allowing, we're not making an 8 star in here. So he made either 7 or 9.
Yes.
7 if he was like,
To
well,
worship
we got some
Slaanesh, yeah.
resources that.
No, Slaanesh is 6. Sorry. My bad.
Don't worry about it.
7's Nurgle.
Don't worry about it, baby girl. But yeah, those are massive. It's crazy to think of that.
Sorry, hold on. The Golden Throne, where is that located geographically?
In the Imperial Palace, right, way below it.
Yeah, they say where the Imperial Palace is.
So just for
This is not a Golden Throne episode.
no, I know.
dumb
but
bitch.
hold
You
on.
dumb
You
bitch.
just said it's connected.
They are
Yeah.
connected.
So it's my understanding that the Golden Throne is somewhere over Nottingham, Britain. I read somewhere once.
Sure.
So if that's true, that is a
They
long.
have like massive cables
Goes from the
running
Himalayas.
I'll let you
How
know
is
a little
yeah,
secret,
but there's
though.
there like is this mind-boggling to you?
We literally right nowadays have cables
No,
lying
the-
across
the-
the entire
Yeah,
ocean.
sure, but I mean when
The
you
Imperial
Internet.
Palace
okay,
is in Asia.
fine. We'll just belittle 40Ks.
The Imperial Palace covers Asia, so the Golden
Okay.
Throne is below that.
Okay, so it's not that far. We did better with our internet.
Yeah, clearly.
Except
the
these-
size of these conductors.
Yeah, I don't like. Sure, there
Now
are
we're back to being
cables,
crazy
They're
but
again.
they're massive.
continent-sized cables.
Yeah. Okay. So. So is it cool or is it?
It's impressive.
Okay, yeah.
Everything's
okay,
impressive.
Thank you.
How
Yes.
could? Anyways, okay. The forbidden quote unquote fortress is so important that even inquisitors and adeptus arbites judges must receive invitations to enter.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
inquisitors, judges, they're not allowed in because it's a forbidden fortress. So that makes sense.
It makes sense. Right in the name.
Yeah, exactly. You should have got that. And back in 30K, the Astronomicon was actually powered directly by the Emperor. He was so powerful that he could provide the energy required while even out crusading. So even light years from the beacon source on Terra, he was still providing the psychic energy and the will in order to power it and to create this lighthouse.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
That's
So-
right.
Fuck.
No one's gonna call him on it. We're just gonna ignore it, eh?
What?
Nothing.
What did he
Call
do?
me out on it.
No.
I don't care what you're
I'm
gonna
not gonna do it. I'm not gonna. Just
Why?
go.
You don't like being wrong?
No.
That's right.
That. no one's gonna. Okay, fine. We'll just ignore it.
Yeah. Just let him be.
Okay. Let's talk about post-heresy.
Yeah, so after the Emperor was lovingly and gently placed on the Golden Throne,
That's right.
he was no longer capable of powering the Astronomicon. His power now went to keeping the webway portal closed, and that's a whole nother story for a whole
Yes,
nother
the war
time.
within the webway.
Yeah.
Which I just recently read on Lexicanum and is really awesome. But I was telling Mark, I was like, I can't believe I've never read this before. Like, it's such an integral part of like the whole Horus Heresy and the Golden Throne. But Mark's like, it's only a couple years old, and I felt less bad.
You still felt like you
I
had
still
a
felt-
successful podcast
That's
about
right.
lore.
Yeah,
You're
of
like,
course.
No, I can't do. I am qualified for this.
Yeah. I do
I
have
got
my
a degree right
certificates.
here.
So now that the Emperor cannot power it, the Administratum needed to find another power source. And I did find somewhere in here, I was actually just on a Reddit post, I was looking at other stuff, and it said somewhere that Malkador was the initial suggester of this.
Okay.
But after reading The War Within the Webway, it doesn't really sound like Malkador was the initial like creator of this.
Why do you say
like
that?
some guy said like, no, Malkador, it was always his intention
Yeah.
to have other Psykers power the Astronomicon and not
Yeah.
the Emperor. But when like what am I trying to say?
Okay, so there's words.
Yeah.
They're flowing.
That's right.
Fuck.
I don't remember a point ever where the like something happened that caused the Astronomicon. Oh my god, I can't say it. Astronomicon to
Necroconomon.
yeah to like fail before this. There was no need to put something else there
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it was nothing to the Emperor to do, and it's
Yeah.
not like they never were planning for him to die.
Yeah.
Right. They were never planning for
Well-
a moment.
Sorry, go on.
It was only during the heresy that they were
Yeah.
wondering that. And then for the majority of the heresy, the emperor was stuck on the golden throne anyway. So
And so, with regards to the intended purpose of this, is this something that the emperor would have wanted to keep going for, like, indefinitely? Or once the webway system is open, is that something that's like, okay, we're done with the Astronomicon project, blah, 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 done. Shove it under the carpet.
Shove it under the mountains.
Yes. It comes pre-buried.
Just caves.
I
in the
would
mountains
imagine
on top of
that they would no longer want to use the Astronomicon because the Emperor was very much like trying to keep the warp a secret.
Yeah.
And if every ship had to go through the warp, then it's not
he
really
was
a
trying to
secret.
remove the humanity's dependency on the warp.
Yeah.
And the way to do that is with the webway.
Yeah.
And as soon as that's available, there's no reason to ever endanger yourself
Yeah.
with that kind of travel.
Okay.
So the Administratum, they need a new way to source power for the Astronomicon, and this is where the Adeptus Astronomica.
That's right.
Astronomican.
Astronomica. The Adeptus Astronomica, the administratum branch responsible for overlooking the chamber of the Astronomicon, as well as making sure that it's running. So most likely they were created out of the Adeptus Astra Telepathica.
Yeah.
It's not like we don't have confirmation of that, but the Astra Telepathica existed before the Adeptus Astronomica.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
And they work so closely together that it would make sense that
Yeah.
one would come out of the other.
The Adeptus Astra Telepathica is a branch of the Adeptus that is in charge of gathering and like giving jobs to all the Psykers in the galaxy. So they find them all. They
So
give
black
them a
ships
purpose.
come in.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they're in charge of the black ships or if the black ships just deliver it to them.
Yeah.
But
But
they get the Psykers at the end of the
Yeah.
day. Yeah.
Okay.
To train them
they-
to be battle ready Psykers or whatever.
Are they in charge of astropaths?
I
Yeah, they
imagine
would be.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
form the choirs and things.
Yeah.
It is so. This is the part where the seats thing we think may or may not have come here. If they had intended all along for other Psykers to power the Astronomicon, the 10,000 seats covering the sphere make complete sense for them to do it initially.
yeah.
If they hadn't planned for it and then now they were sensing their need for it, then it would make sense to install those seats now in the chamber
Yeah.
of the Astronomicon.
Yeah, so I think they definitely did it now because, like, the Emperor already was going to use the webway. That, like, he didn't
Yeah.
plan on dying. There's no need to have these Psykers.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah, I
it makes
agree.
the most
It
sense.
Definitely,
doesn't
yeah.
make any sense to add it. Like when you're like he believes like he's an infallible being. Like you don't need to plan for redundancies, right? Like so there was no need for him to plan for it. So they add them in after when they realize the emperor can no longer power it.
Yeah.
So what happens is 10,000 Psykers of the Adeptus Astronomica sit on these chairs.
Perfect.
And they focus their psychic might to the center of the dome, and they create a ball of psychic energy that just floats. That's right. That just floats in the middle of the dome. Then that power that's generated is directed by the will of the emperor, and this is what the cables are for.
Yeah.
The reason the cables are connecting it to the golden throne, not
Yeah.
for his psychic energy, but for his will.
Yeah.
Which is so crazy. How do they turn that into like a power? Anyway.
It's all zeros and ones, my friend. Is it?
It's all science.
So the will of
science.
the emperor is transmitted through those cables, and then those cables go to the generators, and then it shoots a lighthouse into the warp. And then those generators help amplify the psychic strength as well.
I'm gonna be honest with you guys. When we were doing the notes for this, like this was the most hardest episode to write. I think there's so much that like I thought happened that isn't true. Like I always thought the Emperor was the one powering like the Astronomicon. It's not. Like
Yeah, not at all.
Yeah.
He doesn't devote one shred of his power to that.
yeah, and then like just there's a bunch of stuff like even trying to get the dates right and stuff like okay, so when the Emperor was on Crusade, who was powering the Astronomicon? Oh, he was doing it remotely, but it never really said that, but you can assume. And
Yeah.
there's like a bunch of stuff where it was like, holy moly,
There was
I'm lost.
I've definitely
I'm scared.
had it wrong for a very long time, and part of that is because when I read the Council of Nicaea, and there's an excerpt in there which talks about the Nikeah was like covered by like cloud and particulate, and like you couldn't. It was like really tough to get down to the
it's like
planet.
some volcanic planet.
Yeah, and so the only way to get down to it was following the Emperor's psychic beacon that he like pulsed out. And so to me, it's like, well, very obviously that's a representation of his Astronomicon. So he is clearly the Astronomicon himself.
Yeah.
And forever I thought that. And then it was only through reading this and like actually diving into this information I realized like, no, like it's always on Terra. It's always been there. He's powering it. What they saw on Nikeah was just a tiny little sliver of what the Astronomicon is.
Yeah.
Which was cool. It's cool to find something that you're like, man, like I was really wrong.
I was off.
and I've been wrong about this for years. Right? Like,
Yeah.
so yeah. Anyways,
Yeah. So the Psykers that channel their the Psykers in that 10,000 rune chamber, they channel this power and are called the Chosen. And they are recruited from the Adeptus Astra Telepathica. Initially, they are called acolytes and are trained to one day release their psychic powers in the chamber of the Astronomicon.
yeah, and that's another reason just why we think that like the Astronomicon and the Astra Telepathica are just so related.
Yeah.
Is they
get,
literally take them
yeah.
out of there.
Yeah, every Psyker that they recruit. So they are trained.
Do they die?
Yeah, we'll get there. Everyone.
Spoilers.
Everyone dies.
Did they not teach you this?
Yeah. Fuck, what are they teaching you in school?
What?
You're dying. What? I'm dying? Yes. From what? I don't know. You're just dying. Everyone's dying.
Yes, okay. They are trained for their psychic powers and the lore of the Astronomicon and also in philosophy.
Oh.
Yeah, so they're kind of they just hang out, read
Something
some
to think
books.
about while
Yeah.
they're
They're very monastic, this
Yeah.
group. Like they
Yeah.
wear specific color robes depending on their
Yellow.
level.
Yeah.
But like they're also like it seemed very meditative,
Yeah.
right? And
It's all about the mind and yeah.
yeah.
We couldn't find anything about the lore of the Astronomicon, but you can imagine that it's like, how was it founded? Like, thinking about like what would happen if it went out.
Yeah,
like
there's definitely, I think there is 100% there's that history aspect of it where they teach them like the origins and like this man struck the 3,367,634 bolt in the Astronomicon and this one struck the next one, right? Like they have to learn the whole history of it and the Forbidden Fortress. But it, like knowing 40K,
yeah.
like it probably also has turned into something more mystical
Yeah.
than just a bland history, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of where their philosophy must enter in.
I'm just hearing Gregorian chanting in my head.
100%.
Or like the opening to Halo.
Don't be a loser.
Oh. So these guys that are just hanging out, they hope one day to achieve an inner understanding of the universe and the nature of the warp. So they just are just studying,
Opening their mind, training their psychic powers, wondering about their philosophies, and
Are they like Tibetan monks?
yeah.
sure.
They're in the Himalayas.
Oh,
Ooh.
that makes you wonder.
Correlation.
Add that to the history or
I'm
the
doing it right now.
fucking guy. God damn it.
So once these acolytes actually achieve this state of almost like a transcendence, they have become chosen, capital C. Their heads are shaved to prepare them for their neural implants, which we'll talk about, and they now reside in the hall of the Astronomicon, but they just continue to meditate as they await their duty. So just because you've reached the state doesn't instantly mean you're in the Astronomicon. There's a backlog. Like you've reached this state, you're ready to go in, and then you wait.
Yeah. So yeah, they're placed in that chamber, and then they wait. But eventually, let's go to the people inside the chamber. So they're all putting their psychic might into something, into that ball.
In that
the
psychic
middle.
ball, yeah.
And eventually, they give it all they have, and they die.
Yeah, it's like a trading of your life force for psychic energy.
Yeah.
Right? It drains you, right? So these guys, so eventually one of them dies.
Yeah.
Right? And then they're like, chosen mark, enter the chamber of the Astronomicon. And Mock says, "Yes, my philosophy is ready." Right, as he would. And
I
then,
have deep philosophy.
of
yeah.
course,
Oh, yeah.
he has
I
all the
have
philosophies.
all the understanding of the universe.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's wearing his robe. You know, he does like one step and then recites a catechism of the emperor, and then takes another step, and it takes him a lot of steps to make it there. But he does. He eventually makes it. And his head is already shaved in preparation for this day. He goes. Some servitors come. They take some drills out. Some loud sounds. Zzz, the drills put in his head, preparing
I'm liking
him
this. Yeah.
for his implants. He sits in the chair in front of 9,999 other Psykers just like him, who are all staring intently at this ball.
Oh no, one of them just died though.
Chosen Christianus, prepare thyself. And then as he sits in the chair, the neural implants come and just like a super like
Like
the
your
Matrix,
sexual dream self.
like the Matrix thing,
Oh,
where
yeah.
like these mechadrites just come and slam into your brain and then just start milking you.
Human batteries.
Yeah. Well, that's what this is, right? Like they are a human battery powering the Astronomicon. And then slowly, Mark's life force is drained away.
Not even slowly. It only takes a chosen about 2 or 3 months
Yeah.
to do this.
That's not slow at
I
all.
was literally gonna ask that next.
2 to 3 months.
Yeah, but I mean, like, if they would have lived an extra 60 years, I'd say that's a pretty short time.
What do you mean is a pretty short time?
Like,
The 60 years?
no, like shortening their lifespan down to.
Oh
2 or
my
3
God.
months.
Yeah, no, that's very short.
Okay, yeah.
That's very, very
Okay, I
short.
wasn't sure based on your tone.
Like, no, you spend your entire life preparing for this, and then it's over like that.
Yeah, okay.
Just like
Sweet,
sex.
sweet. What?
So yeah, they last 2 to 3 months in there, and it's on average 100 chosen die every day.
They did it though.
They
All the
did
key,
it.
the Imperium
It's
ready
safe.
for sick
Warp
base.
travel is safe
We
now.
did it, boys.
Perfect.
Let's do the math real quick. 100 die every day
365. No, sorry, 36,500 a year.
a year. So
Which,
by the end of the year, you have a.
36,500 have died.
okay, so I have a question.
I'll say like when you have a
Galaxy's
full
only
turnover rate. For the
52.
entire
So
choir.
the estimated number of chosen that have died over the past 12,000 years. No, fuck. Why do I always do 12? It's more like 11. Sure. It's more like 11,000.
Sure.
Times 11,000. The
Oh, my calculator doesn't even go that high.
estimated number of chosen that have died is 401,500,000.
Which on the scope of the galaxy,
To be
and the
fair, a
entire
lot of them.
Imperium,
Yeah, I mean,
like,
they would
that's-
have died of old age eventually.
Fuck.
In that span of time. I mean.
Obviously, they would have. That's everyone dies, Christian. We have told you this.
Okay, so I have a question. So
Yeah.
in my head, the black ships are always like, "Oh frick, they're coming!" Like you're scared, you hide your children just in case they have like a tiny bit of like psychic. But like to me, this seems like a very much like a
Celebrated.
dignified way of doing it. It was always to me in my head like they're getting pushed into a room and like speared and then
Well, I'm sure that was happening.
Yeah.
Like, because Psykers at a young age definitely cannot control themselves.
Yeah.
And then they spend like they could like an acolyte could spend 50 years before he becomes a chosen, like actually honing his psychic potential. But that initial like black ship definitely cattle prods into little.
Do people know about the black?
I
Ship?
don't think people know.
Yeah, they just come and start. People disappear, and people are like, "Oh."
Is it even like a disappearance thing?
Well, here's the thing too.
Or-
Is like if you're a psyker, chances are people are already aware of you. They're very religious, or like your kid's a witch. Probably should burn them, for starters. So if you happen to have like progressive parents, you're like, "No, my baby's not a witch. I'm gonna keep him safe." And then the black ship just kind of ominously shows up, and then your baby's gone the next day,
And
or child, or adult,
I'm doing
depending
a-
when they show up.
I'm looking at a quick overview of black ships. It doesn't look like they collect anything.
What?
what?
They, when a black ship nears a planet, its governor is instructed to prepare the customary levy.
Oh, okay.
Once the levy has been collected, the black ship captains make an initial evaluation of their cargo before proceeding to the next world. So it doesn't sound like
Well, okay.
the black ships are like
actually
taking
collecting
people.
people.
They're
Yeah.
just coming to collect. Like how like a tithe collector
Yeah.
doesn't go around taking
In
like the
everyone's houses.
specific tithe.
Yeah.
They're just the governor's responsible for that, right?
Sure.
Which makes sense because they also talk about like turning in, rat out your neighbor if he seems like he has psychic powers, like, or is a mutant, right? Like they have a very heavy police state. So like it could be down to like the local constabulary to like, that kid's a psyker, arrest him. and then they detain him and then send him up the chain
I would do that to you
in a heartbeat.
in a heartbeat.
In a heartbeat. Mark's probably pretty much a mutant. It's almost guaranteed.
We'll be on the same ship together. In the
Ratted
end.
each other out.
Huh. Yeah. No, I always thought like the black ships were something like a terrifying, like Hydro children, Hydro wife. They steal on every psyker out in here, right? Like, but yeah, I should do some more reading on black ships. Eventually, obviously, we're gonna do an
Do an
episode.
episode on it.
TM.
Yeah, it'll come one day.
But yeah, after that, like, probably harrowing experience, like, you get taken to a temple and, like, they probably instruct you and, like, start to discipline you so you're not, like, a rogue. The biggest thing with psychers that everyone's scared of is, like, your unregulated power that could go off at any time or any minute.
And that's where all the training comes.
Right,
in.
exactly. So then once that process starts, you're no longer, like, something that everyone is probably still scared of you generally, but, like, once you're within the temple's not scared of you because you're theirs.
So to me, and I'm not sure if this is getting super out of scope of the episode, but then like what happens as far as like people who don't want to do it? Like
Don't wanna do
I
what?
don't want to feed the like lighthouse battery. Like
There's other psychers in the galaxy. I don't think you have a choice.
yeah.
But like
Like
I'm sure they find what you're most suited for. Like some have a natural ability to cause destruction, so they're going to become Primaris battle psychers. What?
They're guaranteed.
Yeah. When I say Primaris, not Primaris Marines, they have like
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
like-
I was like, what?
Yeah,
you don't
Primaris.
just become a space marine.
no, they have like Imperial Guard regiments have like
Okay.
Primaris.
Battle psychers, yeah.
Battle psychers.
They're almost like battle wizards you take to the
Yeah.
field.
That's right.
Yeah, and then there's also Astropass. There's a bunch of different like places they could send them depending on like their skill set. Like
okay, cool.
Um,
And on top of that too, it's like they probably see it as an honor to be chosen. That's why they have the title of chosen.
Yeah.
So it's like you're studying.
But
and,
that only
like-
comes at the end.
right. But that could be
Right.
something you aspire towards, right?
Oh,
you know
yeah.
what?
Like
All
it's
in
a
all, though, it
goal.
would be a pretty okay life.
Oh, it would be very cushy.
It would be
Yeah,
very
you just
cushy,
study
yeah.
and think. Like compared to the rest of the Imperium, that's not
Right?
so bad.
Sure, you are gonna have 3 months of a shitty time, but
But
even that, who
not
knows? Like,
not everyone becomes chosen.
yes,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. You could die of old age before you get the opportunity.
Well, not
No,
even
no, no.
that.
Eric, tell us what happens when they do not become a chosen.
Like those that actually fail to become chosen, they instead just become the teachers and instructors of the Adeptus Astronomica.
No, I refuse.
So those are like they're shepherding in the new people and teaching the philosophy and the lore of the Astronomicon, teaching them how to like hone their powers are just other students.
Those
that
who
have-
can't do teach.
I was literally going to say that.
Oh man, how many of them are intentionally like, oh no, I'm not ready to be chosen.
Yeah, for this, guys.
I think it's very possible that that's a thing, but I think it's also like they're so brainwashed
Oh, yeah.
in this that
Sure.
like technically to be chosen, you have a greater status than the leader of the whole Adeptus Astronomica. Like who sits on the High Lords of Terra. Like
Yeah.
you have a higher level of honor and respect than a High Lord of Terra in that regard within this Forbidden Fortress.
Okay.
Obviously that
Yeah.
obviously that doesn't translate.
There's respect if no one
I don't
knows
give a rip
about
about you. Yes. Yeah. But I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, like amongst
it's
your peers
so
and stuff.
elevated.
Yeah, and that's like
cool.
that's why I say it's like probably something that they're indoctrinated to believe is something
Yeah.
to
Well,
work.
I mean, there's like mental conditioning, there's drug conditioning. Like they could just brainwash you psychically. Like there's so many ways to make someone comply.
the best
in the
brainwashing
41st
is
millennium.
self-brainwashing, Eric.
Like with you just scrub your own brain, or
Oh, it's indoctrinating yourself. Choosing to believe.
It's Inception. You got to make him think it was their
that's right.
idea.
I made Christian think that was that idea.
Oh.
That it was himself who actually thinks that it's the best way to indoctrinate himself.
Eric,
is-
you're gonna
Now,
end
is
up on
this
the
when I would say that's right? Is that that's right? Okay, perfect.
you're
Just
gonna end
making
up on the
sure.
black ship alongside me and Mark pretty quick here.
So one, I guess I kind of already said this, but there is a member of the Adeptus Astronomica that is a High Lord of Terra.
Yeah.
And he is called the Master of the Astronomicon.
Yeah. So yeah, they have a lot of pull for
Oh,
sure.
of course, they're responsible for making sure that like they're just as important to space travel as navigators are.
Yeah.
Right. So,
And
there
communication,
are.
too. The choirs communicate.
That's something
That's
else.
different.
What?
That's Astropass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
You dumb bitch.
Did you actually
He
know
didn't
that?
prepare.
Everything I believe is wrong.
What?
No, he's messing.
Is
with
the
us.
Emperor still real?
You're lying. He's messing with us. There are almost no non-psychers within the Adeptus Astronomica. The only ones that are hereditary servants.
So this is like staff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
Staffs.
goes back to they have a pretty good life. They have staff waiting on them.
Yeah.
Yeah, but those are also the same people that have been their servants, like the same family and like lines for 11,000 years. They don't take in new non-psychers at
Yeah.
all. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
They're probably pretty freaky looking.
Well, no, just think of how big that fortress is.
Yeah,
Think of how
It's
many
huge.
people it
Yeah.
takes
It's a
to
country.
run that.
Yeah.
Like a small
It's
country at that
it's
point.
probably a continent.
we talked last episode about how many like pairs you need for
Oh, yeah.
genetic stability and
126 people.
Yeah.
apparently I've yet to test
Yeah,
it.
which
I'm
is kinda
working
cool.
on it with some rats, but I'll let you guys know.
Should use bunnies.
No,
They breed faster.
there's just something
And you
about
can eat
watching
so
them.
much.
Fuck, it just is.
Oh, that's weird.
I know that's why I use rats.
So honestly, like that pretty much covers the Astronomicon.
Yeah. There's not a lot to it.
There's not a lot, but it was a lot of information that I didn't know.
It was, yeah, and a lot of information that people constantly get wrong, for sure.
Me included.
Yeah,
I got
yeah.
but now I will never.
Never again.
I will never again get this information wrong.
How long are we at right now?
I don't know. I don't know how to read. We're at 1,381.
Okay.
Seconds.
Nope, I don't know what that means. I just
Units.
yeah, 1384 units.
Probably is seconds.
No,
We do
it's
have a
not.
couple other topics here. But yeah, I don't know. Any of you guys have any things about
Anything
the
to
astronaut
add about the Astronomicon?
outside of the topics that we are going to be mentioning?
I got some good questions for the end where it's just like Tales of the Warp type conjecture stuff.
So we're going to do a Tales of Warp this episode.
I don't know. I got a question that
Okay.
may end in
Okay.
debate. I
Okay.
don't know.
Well, let's do the rest of the notes then. So
Yeah.
we'll talk about the failings of the Astronomicon because there are a couple things that are no bueno.
No bueno.
No bueno.
Si, senor.
That's right.
Shut up. That's my word. Actually, I stole that from Brant.
And he's, I don't know.
He would
stole
always
it
be
from
like,
a
"That's right,
warp
baby
being
girl."
or something. Oh, who knows of that, man?
Yeah, he just coughed right now. These fuckers are talking about me.
So let's talk about the Noctis Aterian,
Or
as some other people would call it.
the Noctis Aeterna.
What did I say?
No, I'm not playing this game. I know it.
If you can take words from Brant, I can too.
You said Noctis Aeterna.
And what did you say?
Noctis Aeterna?
What did I say?
Noctis.
Bitch.
Oh. No, you did it wrong.
You did it wrong.
Either way. So the Noctis Aeterna was during the formation of the Cicatrix Maledictum. This was the 13th Black Crusade of Abaddon, the moment when Cadia exploded and this massive warp scar opened throughout the galaxy. And Terra actually, the Astronomicon went out on Terra for 33 days,
Yeah, it's crazy.
which effectively halts space travel.
Yeah, so it's also called the Blackness or the Days of Binding. And something that's really interesting I find is that there's like time dilation, and I think this is like
It doesn't make any sense.
yeah. So on some planets, so first of all,
Yeah.
on Terra it's 33 days.
Yeah.
On other planets it was less than 33 days. and
That's
then in,
40K.
and then in others it's like I think I read somewhere that in some planets it's still happening. Maybe that's just the stars
Nope.
getting in the way and they can't see it.
No, for
But-
sure. Like it's still dark on some
It's, like,
planets, and
so
that's
crazy.
200 years
If
later.
you have like a planet like trapped in the Cicatrix Maledictum, like surrounded by like warp space, like they have their own pocket of time compared to everything else
Yeah.
outside. Like, yeah, it's a wild time.
yeah, but it's also, I believe, effectively cut off the entire.
North.
Well, what's the new the Imperium that Dante is in
Dark
charge
Imperium?
of?
The Imperial
Nihilist. Yes, the Imperium Nihilist that Dante is in charge of on the eastern side of the Gork's Grin. They don't have Astronomicon at all.
Yeah.
Though they can't see it at all. So space travel for them is fucked.
Yeah.
Like they're screwed.
Yeah.
Although I think isn't this when I want to say Reboot did like a whole crusade during some of this.
Yeah,
Yes.
he did, but
Yeah.
there's still no way to
Like he
crusade
can't.
the light.
Yeah, he can't fix this problem
No, no.
unless he gets rid of the warp that's in the middle of the
They
galaxy.
can still make the short jumps.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and that's the
of
thing.
course.
To me, it's so cool that even during like all this crap happening, that they're still able to take like a little bit of ground here and there, and they're
Well,
able to do some
That's
stuff.
that's thanks to the navigators being able to make those 5-year jumps. They can make a 5-year jump without any help.
Any difficult. They can make long ones too.
They
pretty-
can.
It's just
it's
more
just-
risky.
It's
Yeah.
way riskier as opposed to if they had the
Yeah,
Astronomicon,
but
which is cool.
yeah.
So the rumor is that when the Cicatrix Maledictum happened and the Noctis Saturna happened, is that the Emperor actually died.
Yeah.
And the rumor is that that's why the Astronomicon went out, is because he actually died and stopped putting his will towards it
Yeah.
in those moments.
And to those people, I say wrong.
Oh.
Oh, sorry. I had no idea.
Yeah. I didn't know you felt that way, Mark. Like, I'll do my best to...
Be better. Be better with your life choices.
I'll do my best to be better. Why do you think that's wrong?
Oh, I don't. I just the light comes back on. How would it
He
come
could
back
have
on?
died, and then his spirit in the warp started it.
Oh, sure,
So-
sure.
Yeah, I don't know. This could very easily turn into like a conjecture on the Emperor. Like, there's so many different directions this could go. It's like he died and then he became a warp being, and then he was fighting off chaos for 33 days and then came back.
He
Or
just took his vacation days this year.
he
not-
went
He's
He's been
visited
storing
the
them for
farmer's
10,000
wife.
years.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, month vacation.
It also could just be like the Adeptus Astronomica found a way around using him. Like,
Yeah.
he was initially hooked up to the throne because they thought they needed it. And then it goes dark and they're like, we have to fix this. So
And it took him 33 days to find a
exactly.
solution.
If you believe this story
Sure.
that the Emperor is dead, then it's a very easy workaround.
Send
the
us-
webway portal, though, that's more.
I'm usually not super big in like the conspiracies and stuff, but having said
The Emperor
that,
did 9/11.
send
Oh my
us send us why you guys think the Emperor is dead in this span of time and what could have happened, because I don't want to go searching for it.
So
that
then-
just leads me down a dark path. Before you know it, 33 days I've been missing.
And then he's dead, because if I don't see him every 4 days, he's probably dead.
Exactly.
So you specifically only want their reasons why he would be dead, or would you want the reasons why he might be alive?
Either or,
just the
but
perspective?
specifically about this portion of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think happened?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to know about the Sensei children and all that kind of stuff.
I do. Sensei. Yes, Sensei.
Fuck.
Teach me your wisdom, Sensei. It's like Dwight from The Office. He's talking to his sensei on the phone. That's a pretty good episode. Anyways, let's talk about another potential bad thing about the Astronomicon, and that's Tyranids.
Oh.
So there is, it was rumor, but now it's confirmed pretty much that the light or sound or smell or taste of the Astronomicon is actually drawing the Tyranids towards Terra.
Yeah.
And that is no bueno, as Mark would say.
Yes.
Like a moth to a lamp.
Yeah, exactly, which pretty much is bad. If
Because
they'll-
they're bugs.
Oh, I get it. They should build a giant bug zapper and just let them come
just like cage Terra.
in a big electric.
That would be overloaded. But yeah, that's
that
that's a
sucks.
pretty bad. That's a bad time.
Yeah.
So they're just slowly working their way towards feeding, getting distracted by food, obviously, and all their gene stealer cults. But
So when they reach Terra, what happens?
well, obviously, obviously it's political. Man, could you imagine if like all 6 like of the strong high fleets just all converged on
Oh
Terra
my
at the same time?
gosh.
Terra would lose.
No, you just detonate Jupiter and end it.
I don't
And
think
what?
you-
Giant gas ball.
You
Set it on
detonate
fire.
Jupiter, which is like would be such a tiny blip even within our own like
Yeah.
solar system.
Okay. So detonate the sun.
Yeah. Well, our
Even
sun's
that would
tiny
be
compared to everything
yeah,
else.
like it's so small.
Detonate Earth.
Now we're cooking with gas. That's right. No, honestly, I think that Terra would lose in a heartbeat if they all decided to go to Terra at the same time. We'd find out how bad the Custodians really are.
Oh, jeez. Oh, my God.
That is a slight we will not stand for, Eric.
I just want Nathan to hear that.
Yeah. So that
So that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That and so the light can go out and that causes just havoc across the entire galaxy. Like if ships can't travel, it's just everything's fucked.
So is the cure for the Tyranid like onslaught basically just turning off the Astronomicon?
Turning off the light.
There we go. Then we're done.
I mean, that's like the simplest thing that I can think of.
Save
But
humanity.
they're still in the galaxy though.
Yeah,
That's
but
true.
it would make it so maybe their goals were different and changed, and,
Or they might
no,
just
no.
disperse and they're easier to take on.
divide and conquer.
So we gotta launch Terra outside of the galaxy.
Okay.
And they chase it into the.
legit. You just have like a massive arc ship, kind of like the Eldar, and then you just send it out into the void, and then you just have them produce like their own little beacon, draw them away.
Well,
There we go.
We've solved it.
All the Emperor does is he guides it. So all you need is just a bunch of Psykers, and you're good.
Perfect.
We solved it, guys. We fixed it.
If only we were on the High Lords of Terra.
See?
They
Man.
wouldn't need a council of 12.
maybe
Yeah.
we would
Council
be.
of 4.
That's right. Well, Council of 3.
We also detonated Jupiter at the same time.
Just
It was our
you
it was our first
slipped
plan.
that into like the.
Fine print.
We had like a plan. We had like a 50-point plan to like create this ship and put a chamber of the Astronomicon on it, and then like in like point 35 subsection B section 5, and it goes all the way down. There's just a tiny little thing. It's like also we detonate Jupiter, and
It's integral to the plan.
some administrator going through this is like, I guess we're detonating Jupiter. Like that's it. And then there's one more kind of failing that we
This isn't really a failing,
sure.
but
That sounds like something a failure would say.
okay.
It could have replaced the Astronomicon.
Yeah.
It would have
Sure.
rendered the Astronomicon redundant
Yeah, sure. If they could have
if they had kept it.
kept it and learned how to actually use it and replicate it. So let's talk about it. It's called the Pharos.
And apparently I've heard that our didact is an expert
Yeah.
on this piece
I
of
too have heard
Xenos
that.
tech.
In fact, some said
That's the only reason. This is literally the only reason he's here.
Yeah.
As he pulls out his phone, searching for one last piece of information before we turn the episode over to him.
All right. Gather around, children. I want to tell you a story from my book.
the life and times of Christian.
So the Pharos, way back during the Horus Heresy, I forget what planet it was on. If anyone can look that up real quick, that would be helpful.
Phantom 4.
But it's in the galactic east, in the Macragge, in the Ultramar segmentum. Ultima segmentum. You know what?
You're losing the
You do
children.
this. Okay, anyways.
It was discovered on Sotha.
Sotha, yes. So it is actually a xenotechnology. It's unknown who built it. There's rumors that it could be of Necron origin or of Old One origin. And really it's unsaid, so it could be even a race we've never heard of before.
Like the Sothians.
Sothians, yeah.
Yes.
That's right.
I think the strongest evidence people think is Necron, though, for sure. There's debate. Anyways.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, no, go for it.
It's biotech,
right.
and the Necron are not biological at all.
Yeah.
So
Yes,
it's just-
it's implied that it's got like it's like alive almost. So during the Horus Heresy, there's massive warp storms raging, and it kind of similar to how the Cicatrix Maledictum of now. The warp storms pretty much broke up the galaxy, cut off communication. Macragge was separate from Terra and couldn't see the light of the Astronomicon. So the Pharos served as a secondary lighthouse and actually projected a very similar psychic energy into the warp that people could see. And that began to attract ships. Should I kind of delve into the whole Imperium Secundus kind of
No,
Okay.
that's too much.
So essentially, Gulliman, who is in the Ultima Segmentum, is running his own thing, and they're using this to get any survivors. They don't know what happened. They don't know if Terra is destroyed. They're assuming that maybe they are. So they're like, okay, well, we're going to start attracting survivors here using this lighthouse. The Horus Heresy is already in full swing. Everyone already knows, like, Horus has betrayed them. The war is full on currently. So they send a former Iron Warrior who's now working with the Loyalists, Dantioch, to begin like exploring this machine to find out what it is, what it does, how it works. Because really they don't know. They're just like, oh, just projecting a light. We don't know where it comes from. We don't know even what it does beyond that.
Yeah.
So the second function that it has, it actually serves as a communication device. They can project themselves and communicate interplanetarily within the system. So it's pretty useful, and especially during these dark times. And then different ships start showing up out of like the chaos of like the warp storm. So you have like Dark Angel ships, you have like all kinds of random groupings from the war. Now the other thing it attracts though is enemies, and the Night Lords end up also seeing this light and heading towards it. Essentially ends up being a big battle for the device.
Yeah, because the Trader Marines still need a way to jump around the warp too.
Yeah, like they're all going to fight for this. It's a pretty valuable strategic asset. However, during or just before the fight, they discover that you can actually use the device to teleport as well. It somehow is attuned, and by device, it's a structure, like you can be inside it.
Yeah.
And it's attuned to people's emotions, and when their desire to, I don't know, I can't explain it, but like
Warp science.
Yeah. So like when it's based on your emotions,
magic.
and if you want to be somewhere else, it will teleport you to that place.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So does it open like a warp portal and you just like step through like a doorway?
So when I read the book, it's been a while since I read it. Essentially the first time they discover this, spoilers for whatever that book was.
Unremembered Empire.
Yeah, Unremembered Empire. Anyways, so what happens is the Primarchs, Lionel Johnson and Gulliman, are actually fighting against Night Haunter. And one of the Space Marines who's watching this through the communication methods that the Pharos provides, he wants to get into the action. And he like wants to go save his Primarch.
Very, very brave Marine.
Yeah.
3 Primarchs
fighting, and he's like, oh, I can do something. And then he's standing right beside Dantioch, and they're communicating with the Primarchs while they're fighting. And then the Marine, like, it describes more his desire to be there. And then all of a sudden, he's there. And very quickly gets his ass handed to him.
One would imagine.
Yeah. But so it doesn't really describe how it happened. It's describing like his feelings and desire to be there. And all of a sudden it's like he's not standing beside Dantioch anymore, and he's in the middle of like this fight.
Crazy.
So I don't know how it actually functions and what its relation to the warp is.
Yeah, I doubt anyone even
It's probably
knows.
intentionally.
Yeah,
vague,
and
right?
that's part of it too, right? They're trying to discover as much as anyone else is to how it all works. Anyways, essentially what happens is the Night Lords end up attacking it because they want to secure it.
Yeah.
And the loyalists decide that it's, I don't know, I can't remember, again, it's been a while since I read it, what.
You had one job.
I know, and I didn't do it. But anyways, they decided that they would destroy the Pharos instead of letting it fall into enemy hands. So essentially what happens is Dantioch overloads it, and it flares out.
Yeah.
Kind of a side note, if I may. Some of the loyalist Marines that end up going there to protect it are Ultramarines companies, because it's all the Ultramarine Legion. But one of them is the Nova, I think, the 90th Nova Company, which you might know as the Nova chapter in the future that they'll become. And the other one, I forget what the group is, but they eventually become the size of the Emperor.
Yeah.
And that becomes their base of operations like 40,000 years later.
On a pile of rubble.
10,000 years.
40,000 years later. No. You got it right.
No. 10,000. My bad. Yeah, so just a cool side note if you're a fan of either of those chapters. They go to defend it as like Ultramarine companies, and then eventually when they become their own chapter. Anyways.
I like listening to you ramble. It's like talking to your father.
Oh no, he's bad. He does the same thing. I get so frustrated. Anyways,
I'm a fan of you guys and your clan.
You're staring at me with your doughy eyes. Okay. Anyways,
It's like doughy as in like Pillsbury Doughboy eyes.
he's
Or like,
little stars.
because he likes pizza.
I got a doughy body, not doughy eyes.
Sorry.
Yeah.
No, your body is made of pizza and your eyes are made of deer. I get it. Let's move on.
Anyways, the interesting thing about all this is when Dantioch overloads the pharos, it goes out like a bright flash.
It's a burst.
Yeah. Because he's overloading.
Like a surge of electricity. Oh my god.
But what happens is that it describes that it catches the attention of a collective of beasts out in the cold of the galaxy, which is heavily implied to be the Tyranids.
Okay, so this is
Like moths to a lantern.
Exactly.
so this
like
is sowing
water
that
to a
rumor that eventually
flame.
is later on confirmed.
No,
in more
like it's
recent-
literally written in the book. That
You
it
like
catches the attention.
You
I
like
forget
that?
how it describes it, but it describes it as a great devourer.
Yeah, but this is the
It's
whole,
Tyranids.
Which is the
yeah,
epithet
it's definitely
of
Tyranids, but
Tyranids, yeah.
you kind of described that it was like confirmed in more recent.
So
Thing, and
this,
this
is
is
what
better.
drew them to the galaxy.
Yeah.
Because this was a massive psychic beacon, and now so then they're moving towards this.
Oh, yeah.
And then all of a sudden they're like, well, that initial thing is gone. But the Astronomicon
Is right
exists,
there.
and now
Yeah.
we're drawn
towards that. So the interesting thing
Okay.
is, because Tyranids are extra galactic, they
Yeah.
weren't in our galaxy prior to this, and that's what initially drew them from like the deep of space or
Okay.
wherever they came from towards this galaxy, and then from there
They just
they
kind of flashed
and
onto
the Tyranids have entered our galaxy directly from this planet. So they were drawn to this planet, and that's why the Sides of the Emperor is important, because they were one of the first chapters to get decimated by the Tyranid hive fleets.
Oh my god.
And I'm
decimated.
sad now. Yeah, they're still around, but they were like horribly mauled. What do you want from me?
Romans in Roman times. Is that where you
Anyways,
No, did they lose? Did they lose 1/10?
go? Yes.
no, okay, fine.
Decimation.
If you want to be precise, Eric.
Fuck. In the weeds.
Okay.
I'm just
Anyways,
teasing.
yeah. So the Tyranids actually attack from that area and hit those planets first.
Okay.
So they were drawn directly to that
Yeah.
point.
We did it.
And that's all I studied.
But yeah, the cool thing about the Pharos is that if we had the way to like replicate it, to reverse engineer it, to reproduce it, 100% we would have just got rid of the
Yeah,
Astronomicon.
Yeah, like it's
Even like the Webway project, like if you can just literally teleport people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The problem is, I think it can teleport you anywhere, but I can't remember exactly what the parameters around.
That almost seems too dangerous to have. Like, because, like, if you have those on, like, thousands of planets so that you can go everywhere and anywhere at any time, like, that's one enemy gets
Hello, assassin.
that. Yeah.
I think that's also what maybe might have been the impetus to destroy it and not
as
let
opposed to let
yeah.
it fall to chaos. Yeah.
But I can't remember.
Yeah,
exactly
apparently
how that
there was
plays out.
like a cache of like Xenos tech that Gilliman like sent them to destroy, like an entire cache, like tons and tons of Xenos tech. So they weren't even looking at, and then the Pharos was just one of them.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. So there could have been some really cool,
Really
stuff in
juicy
there.
stuff.
Yeah. Just imagine like an individual teleporter, like on your ship.
It only teleports you to the bathroom.
That's right.
I'll take
And
it.
to the fridge. Just it teleports your.
We could eliminate the need for stairs in any home.
Yes, that's my favorite. That's
This
my
is the
favorite.
future.
Wow, the High Lords of Terror once again coming up with a brilliant solution to
To the
all your
staircase
home-
problems.
The staircase.
Stairs are dangerous.
The staircase project. That is our second edict. All stairs are to be removed from all imperial houses.
We
Also
believe
we
in
blew up
ramps.
Venus.
Also, Venus is gone. That shit is no more.
That one was Mark's doing. He slipped that one in there.
Fuck you, Venus. Okay,
Yeah,
that's it.
that's a yeah.
it.
You got some questions,
that's a wrap,
Micah.
boys.
Okay, so it's definitely more emperor centered, and so I was thinking that it would kind of. Oh, sorry. I was too far away, and then Eric was implying I should get closer. And now he implied I should deep throat the mic.
If you can, I mean, I'm just if you want.
I'm not talking about where your gag reflex is.
Yeah. So initially, like before I'd gone through all the notes and done research and stuff, I had this question, and then I kind of realized as we were going over this and remembered that like it's more emperor focused, and because like it seems really Astronomicon tied, because I thought that the major drain on him was the Astronomicon,
Yeah.
but it's actually holding like the webway at bay and stuff. So
Yeah.
it is off topic, but if you're cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And now, oh gosh, Eric.
What? I just wanted to have a little tongue kinship with Christian.
Gross.
What? God, leave me alone, guys. Stop shaming me. Stop king shaming me.
My God.
All right, the Emperor. We were talking about the Emperor.
But yeah, so in my head, the major drain on him was the Astronomicon. So then it was going to be like, if he didn't have that burden on him for X amount of time,
Yeah.
could he come back? Could
he like build up his stores?
yeah,
and
like
walk off the throne.
yeah, because he
Too busy listening to the podcast.
that's right. Because Malkador, strongest human psyker at the time
Ever.
ever, maybe 1,000 Suns Primarch.
They're not human.
That's true. Okay, so strongest human ever. He dies in a matter of, was it minutes or something like that, or mortally wounded within
Enough time for the Emperor to go on the Vengeful Spirit and fight.
Oh, okay. So it was hours,
longer than
probably.
minutes.
But
Whatever that like the time.
The books aren't out yet.
okay, but like it's clearly a very draining thing, and so like if the Emperor didn't have that burden, could he regenerate his flesh? Could he step up? Could, I don't know, Call get involved and throw some stakes on his skeleton to jumpstart the process? Like what would it take for the Emperor to be able to bring himself back without that drain? Do you think it's
Strong
possible?
hand of somebody at Games Workshop.
The balls to write it down.
Yeah, because I don't think
No,
the Emperor
it-
should wake up.
No,
lore
no,
wise.
it's a very interesting question. Yeah, like because all his energy is going into holding the webwig portal closed, so
Which-
he can't rejuvenate himself.
Is that even
Yeah.
his energy at this point?
Is he dead? Has he been dead all along?
No, is
Who
it
knows?
like there's Psykers getting sacrificed to him every day to replenish his energy? So I don't even know if it's his own energy that's powering this, or if he's just the
Taking the
tool.
Psykers,
He's
yeah.
just the tool, and his will is what's doing it. And
So then, if you just keep the sacrifices going and remove that burden off the end,
I don't think he's.
We need to triple the
conscious
sacrifices.
enough.
That's what we need to do.
I don't think he's like enough of a person to remember anymore. He's been directing, like he's been focusing on two things for 10,000 years.
Thing one, banging the farm.
That's right. Thing two, finally getting some vacation time in this damn place. No, he's been focusing on projecting the Astronomicon, and he's been focusing on keeping the webway shut. And I think anything else that like drifts away from him is like a stray thought. Like there's a lot of people who say like they get a vision of the Emperor or anything, but
Yeah.
it seems to me that it would make more sense, less that he is like individually reaching out and more that like slippages of his power are traveling and being attracted across the galaxy, and then the people see what they want. It just makes more sense than he's actually involved in your individual life.
no, and I don't think the Emperor gives a rip about the minutia of.
I don't
the
think he
Imperials.
can anymore.
Because
Sure, yeah, go ahead.
There's debate. That's all. Like we don't know. You don't know that.
I
You
don't.
can't.
No, I don't.
Like,
I know.
Did the Emperor come to you in a vision, Mark? Did he tell you?
Oh yeah, I've had fever dreams. But
No, your fever dreams have to do with chaos gods. It's a little different.
Slanesh.
Once again, thank you for joining me in my dreams.
Slanesh is learning from Mark. What depravities have you for me today, Mark?
Yeah.
okay,
you ever seen rabbits fuck?
Shit's gross. Slanesh.
Oh. Wow, turned into a cesspool real quick here.
It always does.
real quick. Okay, interesting. I don't know. Okay.
I don't know.
That's tough.
Life.
Well, there's just so much unknown about the Emperor's like
I prefer the mystery.
quantitative, like what is it actually, right? We don't know. He's on there. How much like people go and say they have conversations with him.
Yeah.
Do they actually have like real conversations with him? Is there a voice? Is it disembodied? Is it a psychic voice in your brain?
Are they just self?
Are they just imagining
Yeah.
it? Is it just being in his presence and you just think what it is you'd want to hear? And
Yeah. It could be anything.
any number of things until we actually step into the that golden throne room.
Which I don't think they ever should.
Yeah, episode 399 is the Golden Throne.
God, if we ever make it that far, they probably will release a book that has that. Yeah, I think they've stated that they're releasing the 13-book series on like the final days of the Horus Heresy.
I think it's only
more.
9. No, it's only 9.
It's only 9.
Pretty sure.
Ooh, that's a relief.
Yeah, they have put a limit on it.
Yeah, like when I started the Horus Heresy, I'm like, oh yeah, it's gonna be like a 10, 20 season.
Yeah,
book
even 20 would be
series.
wild, actually.
Yeah.
Now that I said
And
a
I
low
bu-
number compared to what it was. Like 20 seems low compared to what they did, but even 20 is so high.
Yeah, like what other 20 book series do you read?
Yeah.
Wheel of Time. Oh, Eric wasn't even listening.
Wasted.
I'm listening. We love time.
How many books is it?
15.
15?
15.
Okay.
Eight volume. An 8-volume mega series is what I
Wow.
called it.
Oh, but mega series.
That's right.
So what the fuck was the Horus Heresy?
A waste of time is what it was.
Honestly.
Yeah, that pissed me off. So I started buying all the books. I'm like, yeah, any minute they're gonna get into it. Any minute. And I think
How many years
stopped
later?
around book 29 or something like that. Once it hit the 30s, I was like, all right, I'm done.
Oh my gosh. It's been 13 years since they started writing the Horus
I know.
Heresy.
I remember like when it came out, and like Mark and I like started making a Horus Heresy army. Remember?
Oh, I remember. I had the blank because I was reminiscing. It's like, yeah, that was when our friendship was good.
Those were the good times.
Yeah. Now you have children and you love them
Oh,
more
but
than me.
Christian, there's limited editions available, and there's only 2,500 copies, so you should probably buy one.
I need to buy.
They are limited
I need to buy
edition. They're limited
2,500
edition.
copies.
What?
They're limited edition, which means at some point you won't be able to buy them. And I know that just tickles your penis.
I don't see that being an actual thing. Like, there's no way.
These
These are gonna be their best, like, most lucrative books. This is them just like
No, this is just a limited edition version.
of
the
Different cover.
Yeah.
Yes,
okay.
different
Yeah.
cover. It actually looks pretty slick.
Oh, Eric's.
hardcover, a little bit glossy, some shiny stuff on there.
It's like a full leather hardcover. It looks like a really old school book. There's like
Oh, yeah,
a
that
really
looks really
simple
slick.
like star
Nice.
on it, which is really cool.
Do they all look like that? And just
How
have
much
different
is it?
titles
This
on
is-
the
I think
real
this is just the
question.
first book, The Solar War. I think it's called.
How much is it?
Money, I'm assuming. Dollars?
Pounds, Eric. It's in pounds.
No, I don't think it has a price
It's
yet.
priceless.
It'll be available on the Black Library website from 10 a.m. GMT. It's probably already sold out. Because they released this, yesterday? Oh, yesterday. So that means today it would have gone on
Get your
sale.
credit card. Get it out right now.
It looks cool, though. It's a nice cover. It's probably not worth the extra price that it would cost as limited edition,
Not
but
when
it's
you
a
can
nice
literally
cover.
just print your own. That's literally how books work, right?
Yes.
He's not wrong.
I mean, you're not wrong.
It's the first time I've ever been right about books.
Oh, man.
All right. We done? I'm done.
I think so.
I'm
I
done.
got nothing else to say
Yeah.
about the Astronomicon.
Speaking of that, though, if there is something that we have missed, if there's something that you think was added, if you think there's something we got wrong, obviously let us know. Obviously, we're not perfect. I mean, I am, but the rest of the hosts aren't, and they've all
people trying to
contributed a
blow
little bit. So, yeah, send us a message. Obviously, you can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Instagram. We're kind of blowing up on Instagram right now. It's going really fast.
Oh, it's all due to my
Is
hobby
live
time with
streams.
Mark.
I don't think so.
You know, those two people that joined me.
Well, sure.
Phil and Mike. Fucking keeping it strong on Instagram Live.
Yeah, Mark goes on there a lot if you're into. I guess.
Basically, just
We're
talk.
also now on Spotify.
Oh,
Which
that's cool.
Which I don't know why was such an
What?
issue for long. It was literally like a button I had to click to allow us to go. It's been over a year.
And you're perfect? Is that what you said?
It just means that we weren't supposed to be on Spotify until now. A wizard is never early, nor is he late. He arrives on Spotify precisely when he means to.
Perfect.
Anyways, guys, thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Take it easy.
Peace.
That's it. Right. That's it. Right.
What was that?
I choked up at the end.
I hope that. Did you still get that? Try again. What were you going to say? You get a second chance,
Yeah,
right?
That's right.
Oh my! That's Boo! Wendy Pesterberger. Boo!